On a distant work planet far from Earth, many species lived and labored together under a shared system. The planet was not beautiful, but it was important. Its surface was wide and gray, marked by long mining lines and heavy structures that stretched across the land. The air was thin but stable, controlled by machines placed carefully around the main work zones. Life there followed schedules, warnings, and rules meant to keep everyone safe. Among the humans working on the planet was a man named Alan Brooks. He was not a leader or a commander. He did not wear armor or carry authority symbols. Alan worked as a safety planner, a role many considered dull or unnecessary. His job was to observe, measure, and warn. He spent most of his days walking the site, listening to machines, watching ground sensors, and checking reports that others ignored. Alan believed small signs mattered. He believed that tiny changes often came before big problems. A soft vibration, a slow pressure rise, a sound slightly out of place. These things told stories to those willing to listen. Alan had learned this early in his career, back on human worlds where one missed detail could cost lives. He carried that lesson with him wherever he worked. Other workers knew Alan as quiet but serious. He spoke calmly and never raised his voice. When he warned someone, he did not exaggerate or panic. He simply explained what he saw and why it mattered. Some listened. Many did not. Overseeing the site was an alien leader named Kara. She was tall, sharp-eyed, and confident. Kara had earned her position through fast decisions and strong results. Under her leadership, production numbers stayed high. Machines ran longer. Deadlines were met. Many admired her for that. Kara believed in strength, speed, and progress. She trusted advanced machines more than caution. To her, hesitation meant weakness and delay meant failure. She had little patience for warnings that did not come with visible danger. If the ground looked solid and the system showed green signals, she saw no reason to slow down. Alan and Kara had crossed paths before, but only briefly. Their roles did not often overlap. Alan worked quietly in the background while Kara stayed at the center of operations. That changed one cycle when Alan noticed something troubling beneath the main work zone. He had been reviewing pressure readings from deep sensors placed far below the surface. At first the change was small. A slight rise. Barely enough to trigger alerts. But Alan noticed the pattern. The pressure was not spreading evenly. It was building in one area, slow and steady. Alan checked the readings again. Then again. He walked out to the site and stood near the heavy machines. He felt the ground through his boots. It was solid but not calm. There was a tension beneath it, like something being held back. Alan returned to his station and ran simulations. The results worried him. If the pressure continued to build, the ground could shift. Not suddenly, but enough to damage equipment and endanger workers. Alan did not panic. He prepared a report and requested a meeting with Kara. When he entered the command area, the space was busy. Screens displayed progress charts and machine output. Kara stood at the center, giving orders with clear confidence. When she saw Alan, she frowned slightly, not in anger but impatience. "What is it?" Kara asked. Alan spoke calmly. "I've noticed rising pressure beneath the main work zone. It's slow, but the pattern is unstable. I recommend reducing load and pausing heavy activity until it settles." Kara glanced at the screen. "All systems show normal," she replied. "The sensors deeper down show a change," Alan said. "It's small now, but it could grow." Kara crossed her arms. "We've worked this ground for cycles. It has never failed." "Conditions change," Alan said. "The signs are there." Kara shook her head. "You humans worry too much. If we stopped every time someone felt uneasy, nothing would get done." Alan did not argue. He simply said, "I believe the risk is real." Kara turned away. "Operations will continue." The meeting ended just like that. Alan left the command area with a heavy feeling but not surprise. He had seen this before. Warnings often sounded unimportant until it was too late. Still, he did not give up. He returned to his station and began preparing safety steps quietly. He updated emergency paths. He checked backup power. He made sure alerts would reach workers quickly if needed. He did not announce these actions. He did not want to cause fear. He believed preparation was better than argument. Out on the site, machines continued their work. Heavy drills pressed into the ground. Load carriers moved back and forth. Workers followed their routines, trusting the systems above and below them. Kara watched the operation with satisfaction. Numbers stayed strong. Progress was steady. To her, the human warning already felt forgotten. Alan, however, kept watching the readings. The pressure continued to rise. He noted the change and recorded it carefully. He stayed calm but alert. He knew that sometimes the most dangerous moments were the quiet ones, when nothing seemed wrong. As the cycle moved forward, the work planet remained busy and loud on the surface and tense beneath it. Two ways of thinking stood side by side. One trusted speed and strength. The other trusted patience and care. Neither knew yet how much that choice would matter. Alan did not argue after the meeting. He did not raise his voice or try to prove Kara wrong in front of others. He had learned long ago that pride closed ears faster than silence ever could. Instead, he returned to his duties with the same calm focus he always carried. If Kara would not stop the work, then Alan would prepare for what might come. He stayed close to the main work zone, moving between stations and support towers. To others he looked like any normal worker checking equipment. Only those who knew him well noticed that he moved with extra care, pausing often to listen, to feel, to watch. Alan reviewed emergency systems first. He checked power backups, making sure they could activate without delay. He tested warning signals, adjusting their sensitivity so they would react faster if the ground shifted. He rerouted some control lines quietly, giving workers clearer escape paths if machines had to shut down suddenly. None of this slowed production. That was important. Alan knew that if his actions caused delays, Kara would notice and stop him. Kara meanwhile remained confident. She moved across the command platform with sharp steps, giving orders and reviewing reports. Every display told her the same story. Output was strong. Systems were stable. No alarms were active. To her, this confirmed her belief that Alan's warning had been unnecessary. Other workers followed her confidence easily. They trusted Kara because she had always delivered results. When she spoke, her words carried certainty. That certainty made people feel safe. It was easier to believe in strong leadership than to worry about unseen dangers. Some workers noticed Alan's quiet movements but thought little of them. Humans were known for preparation. Many assumed he was simply doing his job, nothing more. Alan kept his thoughts to himself. As the cycle moved on, he spent time near the heavy drilling machines. He placed his hand against metal supports and felt the vibrations traveling through them. He closed his eyes at times, focusing on the rhythm of the machines and the faint responses from the ground below. The sound was wrong. It was not loud. It was not sudden. But it lacked balance. There was a deep, uneven tone beneath the normal hum, like pressure pushing against something that refused to move. Alan recognized it from past experience. It was the sound of strain. He checked the sensor data again. The pressure was still rising, slowly but steadily. The numbers were not yet dangerous. That was the problem. Danger often arrived before numbers turned red. Alan thought about speaking to Kara again. He considered it carefully. Another warning might only make her more firm in her decision. Instead, he focused on readiness. If something happened, he needed to act fast. He contacted a few human workers quietly and reminded them of emergency procedures. He did not mention danger. He simply asked them to stay alert and keep paths clear. They trusted his judgment and agreed without question. As time passed, the work zone grew busier. More machines arrived. Heavier loads were moved. Kara pushed for increased output, eager to meet a major deadline. Each new order added weight to the ground beneath them. Alan watched it all with growing concern. He noticed small signs others ignored. Dust patterns shifted slightly. Tiny cracks formed near support bases, then sealed again under pressure. These were not dramatic changes, but they told a story to someone who listened. Alan paused near a support tower and pressed his ear against the metal. The vibration traveled up through the structure into his body. It felt tight, like a held breath. Something was still wrong. Nearby, Kara reviewed progress reports with her team. She spoke confidently, pointing out how smoothly operations were running. When one officer mentioned minor fluctuations in pressure readings, Kara waved it away. "Within limits," she said. "Machines can handle it." The officer nodded and said no more. Alan heard the exchange from a distance. He said nothing. He moved to a control station and adjusted monitoring software again, making sure alerts would reach him first. If the ground failed even slightly, he wanted to know before anyone else. He did not feel fear. He felt responsibility. Alan believed that safety was not about stopping work. It was about respecting the risks that came with it. Machines were powerful, but they were not perfect. Ground could hold for a long time, then fail without warning. Ignoring that truth did not make it go away. As the cycle neared its end, the pressure readings reached a level Alan had hoped they would not. Still not critical, but close. Too close for comfort. He stood at the edge of the work zone and watched the machines operate. Workers moved between them, confident and focused. Kara stood above them all, sure of her control. Alan listened again. The sound beneath the ground had changed. It was sharper now, strained. Like stone grinding against stone. Alan took a slow breath and placed his hand on his communicator. He was ready. If nothing happened, he would be glad to be wrong. If something did happen, he would act without hesitation. Above the surface, everything looked normal. Below it, pressure continued to build. And Alan Brooks was the only one truly listening. The change came without a clear signal. There was no loud crack or bright warning light. One moment, the work zone moved as it always had, full of steady noise and motion. The next moment, the ground beneath it shifted slightly, like a slow breath released after being held too long. At first, most workers did not notice. Then a heavy machine tilted just a little, enough to make its operator shout in surprise. Another machine responded as its balance systems adjusted too late. A deep, rolling sound traveled through the ground, low and unsettling. It was not an explosion. It was the sound of pressure finally moving. Alarms began to ring. Red lights flashed across control panels. Systems that had shown green only moments before struggled to adjust. Automated responses lagged, trying to correct something they had not been designed to predict. The ground did not break apart, but it shifted in uneven ways, pushing against supports and changing angles without pattern. Confusion spread fast. Workers froze or moved in the wrong direction. Some looked up at command towers, waiting for orders. Others shouted questions no one could answer yet. Machines shut down halfway through tasks, locked in unstable positions. From the command platform, Kara stared at the screens in disbelief. "What is happening?" she demanded. Reports flooded in, overlapping and incomplete. Pressure spikes. Structural stress. Support shifts. None of it matched the model she trusted. For the first time since taking command, Kara felt uncertainty grip her thoughts. She remembered Alan's warning. The memory struck her hard. Rising pressure. Unstable patterns. Words she had dismissed without thought. The realization came quickly and painfully. The human had been right. Kara opened her mouth to give orders, but before she could speak, another alert sounded. A support tower near the main work zone tilted dangerously. Workers nearby stumbled as the ground shifted again. Alan was already moving. The moment he felt the change under his feet, he activated his emergency plan. He had prepared for this exact moment, even though he had hoped it would never come. His communicator sent clear signals to emergency systems he had adjusted earlier. Backup power activated smoothly. Warning signals spread across the site, clearer and louder than standard alerts. Alan's voice cut through the noise, calm and steady. Everyone moved to marked safe paths. Leave equipment. Follow the lights. His instructions appeared on screens and echoed through speakers. They were simple, direct, easy to follow. Some workers hesitated, still looking toward Kara. Others recognized Alan's voice and reacted at once. They trusted him because his words did not carry fear. Kara saw the response unfolding and understood what was happening. Alan had prepared when she had not. His systems were working faster than the main command responses. "Support him," she ordered quickly. "Follow the human's instructions." It was the first time she had said those words. Alan moved through the work zone with purpose. He did not run, but he moved quickly, guiding workers away from unstable areas. He pointed out safe routes and reinforced structures. He helped those who stumbled and redirected those who panicked. The ground shifted again, stronger this time. A heavy machine slid several feet before stopping against a support brace. Dust filled the air. The sound of strained metal echoed through the space. But the damage did not spread. Alan's preparation paid off. Load limits he had quietly reduced prevented total collapse. Emergency shutoffs engaged exactly where needed. The work zone did not fall apart. It held, strained but standing. Kara watched the scene unfold from above. She felt a sharp mix of relief and regret. The situation was bad, but it could have been far worse. She saw workers moving safely through lit paths, guided by systems she had ignored. She realized how close they had come to disaster. When the movement finally slowed and the ground settled into uneasy stillness, silence followed. Alarms quieted. Dust drifted down slowly. Workers gathered in safe areas, breathing hard, shaken but alive. Alan stood near the center of it all, checking reports as they came in. His hands shook slightly, not from fear but from release. He had done everything he could. And it had been enough. Kara descended from the command platform and walked toward him. The work zone felt different now, heavy with understanding. "Alan," she said, her voice low. He looked up. "The ground is stable for now," he replied. "But work should stop until pressure fully drops." Kara nodded. It will. She looked around at the machines, the workers, the marks left by the shift. Then she looked back at Alan. You warned me, she said. Alan did not respond with blame or pride. He simply nodded once. I should have listened, Kara added. The words were not easy for her, but they were true. Around them, workers began to understand what had happened. They talked quietly, pointing out where the ground had moved and how close things had come. Many looked at Alan with new respect. He had not saved the site with force or command. He had saved it by listening. The consequences of ignoring the warning were clear to everyone now. And so was the value of the one who had given it. When the movement finally stopped, the site felt empty in a strange way. Machines stood silent, locked in safe positions. Dust settled slowly through the air, drifting like gray snow. Workers remained where they had gathered, unsure what to say or do next. The alarms were quiet now, but their echo still lived in everyone's ears. Silence followed. It was not peaceful silence. It was heavy, filled with understanding. Kara stood at the edge of the main work zone and looked at what remained. The damage was visible but limited. Support towers leaned slightly but held. Machines were scratched and displaced but not destroyed. Most importantly, no lives had been lost. She knew without doubt that this outcome was not because of luck. It was because of Alan. Kara felt the weight of her decisions settle on her shoulders. She replayed the earlier meeting in her mind. The calm human voice. The warning she had dismissed. The pride that had guided her answer. She had believed strength meant moving forward without hesitation. Now she saw how wrong that belief had been. She walked slowly toward the center of the site, where Alan stood speaking quietly with a small group of workers. He was checking on them, asking if anyone was hurt, making notes on his pad. He did not look like someone who had just prevented disaster. He looked like someone doing his job. That thought stung. Kara stopped a short distance away. The workers noticed her and stepped back, creating space. Alan turned and met her gaze. His expression was neutral. He did not look angry or proud. Just attentive. Kara took a breath. Speaking did not come easily to her in that moment. She was used to giving orders, not admitting fault. But she understood that leadership meant more than command. I need everyone's attention, she said. Her voice carried across the quiet site. Workers paused and looked toward her. Even distant crews stopped what they were doing. Kara faced them openly. Today this site nearly failed, she said. That failure would have been my responsibility. There was no anger in her voice. No defense. I was warned, she continued. I chose not to listen. I trusted my pride more than caution. The words felt heavy, but she spoke them clearly. She turned slightly toward Alan. The human safety planner saw the danger before any system did. He prepared for it. Because of that, we are standing here instead of digging through ruins. A murmur spread through the workers. Many looked at Alan with new understanding. Some nodded. Others lowered their heads, thinking of how easily they had followed confidence without question. Alan shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. Kara raised her voice again. Humans do not give warnings to challenge authority. They do not do it to slow progress or gain control. They do it to protect lives and work alike. She paused, letting the words settle. I ignored that, she said. I was wrong. Silence followed again, but it felt different now. It felt honest. Kara straightened. From this moment on, safety warnings will be treated with full respect, no matter who gives them. Pride has no place here. She looked directly at Alan. Your role will be expanded. Safety planners will be included in all major decisions. Alan looked surprised. He opened his mouth to speak, then closed it. Finally he nodded. I accept, he said simply. The meeting ended quietly. Workers returned to their tasks slowly, carefully. Cleanup teams moved in. Engineers began detailed checks. The site was alive again but changed. Word of what happened spread quickly beyond the work zone. Other leaders arrived to review the situation. They walked the ground, examined the data, and listened to reports. Again and again Alan's early warning appeared in every record. The leaders gathered in a briefing hall later that cycle. Kara stood before them, no longer defensive. She explained everything openly. The warning. The decision. The result. One leader asked, why did the human notice first? Kara answered honestly. Because he was listening for what others ignore. Another leader asked, why did he prepare without orders? Because protection matters to humans, Kara replied. Even when it cost them recognition. That answer stayed with them. The leaders discussed for a long time. Policies were reviewed. Procedures were adjusted. Human safety methods were studied closely. Not as weaknesses but as strengths. Alan was asked to speak. He stood before the group, uncomfortable with attention. He spoke simply without drama. "I did not want to be right," he said. "I wanted to be wrong. Warnings exist so we don't have to learn through loss." No one argued with that. After the meeting, Kara found Alan alone near the edge of the site, looking out across the ground that had nearly failed. The surface was quiet now, scarred but stable. "I owe you more than words," Kara said. Alan shook his head. "I didn't do this for thanks." "I know," she replied. "That's why it matters." She stood beside him for a moment. "I thought strength meant never slowing down," she said. "You showed me it means knowing when to stop." Alan looked at her. "Strength and care are not enemies," he said. "They work best together." Kara nodded. "I see that now." From that day on, the site operated differently. Meetings included safety voices. Warnings were discussed, not dismissed. Workers felt more secure, not less productive. Output remained strong, but losses stayed low. The leaders remembered what happened. Not as a failure but as a lesson. They remembered that ignoring a warning nearly cost everything. And that listening to one calm human voice had saved them all. From that day on, the work planet felt different. The change did not come with banners or announcements. There were no speeches sent across the system, no celebrations, no titles given. Yet everyone felt it in the way work began each cycle and in how people spoke to one another. Human warnings were treated with respect. When a human safety planner spoke, others listened. Not because of fear and not because of rules, but because experience had taught them the value of those quiet words. Warnings were no longer seen as obstacles. They were seen as shields. Alan Brooks returned to his usual routine almost immediately. After the inspections and reports were complete, he went back to walking the site, checking sensors and listening to the ground. His workstation looked the same as before. His schedule did not change much. He did not receive special treatment and he did not ask for it. That was how he preferred it. Some workers tried to thank him directly. They stopped him in halls or near machines and told him how close things had come. Alan listened politely, nodded, and reminded them to follow safety paths and keep reporting small changes. He did not speak of heroism. To him, nothing he had done felt heroic. It felt necessary. Kara noticed this more than anyone. She watched Alan from a distance at times, observing how he worked. He moved with the same quiet care as before. He did not carry himself differently. He did not use his influence to control others. He simply continued to do his job well. That consistency impressed her. Kara had changed too, though she did not announce it. She slowed her decision-making just enough to listen. When reports came in, she read them fully. When someone raised a concern, she asked questions instead of dismissing them. Her leadership became steadier, grounded not just in speed but in understanding. The workers noticed. They felt safer without feeling restrained. They trusted the systems more because they trusted the people behind them. Productivity remained strong, but accidents dropped sharply. Machines lasted longer. Repairs became easier. Care and foresight proved powerful together. Other sites across the planet heard about what had happened. Leaders requested Alan's safety reports. Human methods were studied and shared. Not copied blindly but adapted with respect. The idea spread that listening early saved time later. Humanity's reputation shifted quietly. They were no longer seen as cautious out of weakness. They were seen as careful out of responsibility. Other species began to understand that humans did not warn because they feared the future, but because they valued it. Alan remained mostly unaware of the wider impact. He focused on the ground beneath his feet, the hum of machines, the soft changes in sound and pressure. That was enough for him. One cycle, Kara walked with Alan during an inspection. They spoke little. They did not need to. At one point, Kara said, "I still think about that day." Alan nodded. "So do I." "I learned something," she said. "Strength is not pushing forward no matter what. It's knowing when to stop and listen." Alan considered that. "And listening is not slowing down," he replied. "It's choosing the right direction." Kara smiled faintly. That answer stayed with her. As cycles turned into longer stretches of time, the memory of the incident softened, but the lesson remained. New workers were trained differently. They were taught to watch for small signs and to respect warnings, no matter who gave them. Humans trained alongside others, sharing their methods without pride. Alan trained new safety planners patiently. He taught them how to listen to machines and ground alike. He told them that numbers mattered but patterns mattered more. He told them that calm voices carried further than loud ones. Sometimes, when the site grew quiet near the end of a cycle, Alan would stand alone and place his hand against the ground. He felt the steady calm beneath it and felt satisfied. Not proud. Just content. The work planet continued safely. It had been changed by one ignored warning and one calm response. The damage that could have happened never did. The loss that might have shaped everything was avoided. Humanity had proven its strength not through force, command, or fear. They proved it through care. They proved it through foresight.